Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morgan, the Motor City Man Mouth. My cap, though, says South Florida Tribune. Why? It's my company. So let's put it out there. Anyways, the guy, my company in the broadcast is a guy that I know all too well in Tampa, an alumni guy, and his name is Brad Walker. Brad, welcome back.
Good evening, guys. Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me back.
You're very welcome. Glad to have you. And Jeremy Ballrick, who likes to get on this show anytime he can, and we're glad that Jeremy's on. Good to have you back, Jeremy.
Always happy to be here, Scott.
Always good to have you. Come a long way. And my right-hand man is Football Talk with Bo. Bo saves me from getting a lot of gray hairs because he's the one who puts out the fires when I can't figure out the technological business.
Oh, is that why I have all these gray ones?
Oh, give me a break. Your gray don't come up with mine. All right, and last but not least, my favorite coach, Coach John Bonamago. Glad to have you back, Coach.
Glad to be here, Scott. Sorry I had to miss the last couple of weeks. We've been shaking and baking.
Don't worry, Coach. Anytime you're on here is a blessing. And let me go to the chat room real quick because it's going to get busy tonight. Joshua Bernstein, welcome back. Bradley, see, you got a fan out there, Brad. And Jesse Stuber, what's up, Scott? Stick around for the next 40 to 50 minutes and you'll find out exactly what's up. And we got Josh, we got Jesse, and I'm sure we'll have a whole lot more. All right, well, what's up, folks? Is we're going to start off with a special team situation that Bo and Coach are going to go over with. And I'm going to go over some of the key transactions. I'm not going to sit here and give you a grocery list of everything. So if you have a pen and paper handy, great, take notes. If you don't, you can always listen to the show again. No big deal. Okay. You'll get to hear me more. Well, then again, maybe you don't because you'll want to break a Memorex class. But if you have the guts to do it, more power to you. But you're going to learn a lot tonight. So please stay with us as long as you possibly can. I promise you will not be disappointed. So with that said, let's start off with the special teams kicking situation. Well, let's talk about your suggestion, and this goes directly to Coach Bono. None of us will comment on it, and then we'll get to the rest of it.
Okay, so the new kickoff procedure that they're proposing is a hybrid of what the XFL did. And if you look at the slide here, so instead of lining up on the ball the way that they do now, they still won't move, but they'll be on the opposing 40, right? So they'd be the plus 40. And then the kick return team is going to have 6 of their guys with their foot on the 35. No one on this line is allowed to move until the ball either hits the ground or is caught by one of the return men. There's also 3 more guys that have to be within the 30 to the 35. This allows the coaches to still kind of put little wrinkles in how it is they want guys to line up. And then when they kick the ball, it has to land in this target zone, which is from the goal line to the 20. And this is where it gets a little bit convoluted, but it's really, this design is so that we end up with kickoff returns again, because as of through the last year, it was 22% of kicks were returned, and on onside kicks, only 5% were converted. So we'll get into the onside kick in a minute, but the way that this is going to work, where they really want you to target this zone, is if it goes out of bounds, it still comes out to the 40 like it always did. If it comes up short, it goes out to the 40. If you just boot it through the back of the end zone, it comes to the 35. If it hits in this zone and rolls out, it goes to the 25. So this is really designed for these guys to get this ball and return it. And although alignment-wise, it's going to look very weird, we will finally see some kick returns again. And, so in that way, it's nice to see some of the special teams get brought back into the game where, let's be honest, kicking game's been kind of neglected. But I wanted to get Coach's input on this because although I don't love it as a player that loved kickoff, because I liked going down the first play of the game and blowing someone up, you're not going to have any of that, right? Like they're not going to have that speed, but we do at least get special teams again.
Well, Bo, before you do that, let me go to the chat room real quick because we're getting a lot of action in there. Duncan Lozinski, how are you tonight? And just to let you know, my book is now on Barnes & Noble. And I'm looking forward to Blake Lozinski's episode that'll be coming soon. He's a friend of the show. And I told him you have an open invite. Joshua is out there trying to get it worked out for us. So anybody that wants to come on the show and talk with us, I'll definitely be able to bring on and accommodate you at least once. If I think you're really good, then you can be coming on here more often. And Joshua, what you looking for my thoughts on this kickoff here? You know what? Anything that improves the game, I'm all for it. But I've left this segment mainly to Bo and Coach. So, Jesse, it's good to hear from you as well. So I love this group that we have in the chat room. Want to make sure we get their names out there and say that we appreciate them and anybody else that comes in there. So Duncan, Barnes & Noble, that's the latest development on the book. I'll turn it back over to Bo and Coach.
Hey, Bo, I had one question. Did they specify what would happen on a fair catch? Is it at the spot or is it coming out? Is it the same rule as last year where the ball would come out to the 25?
So the fair catch would be gone in this scenario because none of the guys that are in that kind of safety zone. So anybody on the kickoff return that is on the 40, anybody that's within the 30 to the 35, no one is allowed to move until the ref releases them when the ball either hits the ground or is caught. So the fair catch would ultimately go away. So it's basically forcing a return at that point.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we talked about a little bit about this off air before the show. And first and foremost, I'm in favor of anything that makes the game safer. And secondly, makes this a valid play again. And so I think this is a really good effort at doing that. The last several years, because of the touchback, it's really been a dead play, which is a shame because it's one of the areas where, as a coach, you really have the opportunity to impact the game. You're going to see guys within the rules be creative with this. Did they make any specifications on double teams or trap blocks or anything like that, Bo? Because that's the other part of it.
Yeah, so it didn't sound like it, at least not as of yet. I imagine if we do see this, it'll be in preseason and they'll probably tweak the rule as necessary.
Right. Yeah, because I know the special teams coaches want to allow double teams, traps, kickouts, and that sort of thing.
Well, so if we bring that back up for a second, there is an alignment requirement a little bit. So you have 2 outside the numbers, 2 in the alley, 2 in the center, right?
Right.
And so I would imagine the 6 guys up front on the return team probably has a designation of where they can live. So if there is anything, it's probably those 3.
Right.
And then there is also the caveat of because inevitably a special teams coach would have tried to take advantage of this. The kicker can only run up to the 50 until the ball's touched. So you can't have a free runner.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because someone would have done that first thing, right? They're going to go get the biggest kicker they've ever seen,
Right.
and they're going to let him run free. So they did circumvent that immediately.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm anxious to see it. I really am. I think, like I said, anything that makes the play relevant again, it's very similar to the XFL kickoff. Yes. So I'm sure, there'll be a lot of back and forth there. And, it'll be fun to watch. My questions are like procedural, like, what happens after a penalty? If the kicking team gets a penalty for a personal foul, do they move it back then? The coverage team, that kind of thing, Or
that's a good question. I'm not sure how they're going to work that out. Because then you still have that target zone. So moving those players wouldn't even really matter. So I don't know, that'll be interesting to watch.
You might just have to take it on the next offensive play. Those would be, that's what pops into my mind now, seeing this and just, those type of questions what it's going to be like to look at, how are they going to officiate the upfront guys? Are they going to, how will they get a whistle to let them know when to go or,
Yeah, well, so it probably won't be a whistle, right? Because it'll probably be, somebody putting their arm down like a play's ready or something. Because a whistle, I think, would probably disrupt the play.
Right.
But Yeah, I don't know. Like how penalties will affect it would be weird, because if it did, if it did run into one of those scenarios where it did come up short and then the ball was already coming out to the 40, and if it was a 10 or a 15 yarder, right? I mean, all of a
Mhm.
sudden you're positive territory already.
Right.
So the other rule that they are going to change is the onside kick rule. And this one is, there's elements of it that I kind of like. They're going to allow you to have an overloaded side again, right?
Mhm.
And then so you're going to be able to run a 6-4 split, which is cool.
Right.
The downside to it is because of how that kickoff is going to work, you have to declare, right? So you can't have the Pat McAfee fake, or onside
Right.
kick surprise.
Mhm.
The other thing is you're not going to be allowed to do it except for if you are behind in the fourth quarter.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I
So
don't.
no more surprise on sidekick, which
Yeah.
you couldn't do. Be hard with that setup, anyways. Now, you have to declare like which type of kick you're kicking or the direction.
Well, you have to declare that it's going to be an onside kick,
Okay,
and
you
that's
can't
because
kick
they have
deep.
to get the personnel in different spots.
All right.
It has to be, you have to be behind. It has to be the fourth quarter. I feel like they should be able to do something like this at the end of the set or end of the first half, right?
Mhm.
So hopefully that's something that they tweak, but the surprise onside kick will die if this rule actually happens.
Mhm.
Not that it gets used a lot.
That's interesting. I mean it's still like with the overloads, that's good. You still have the option of kicking any direction you want, middle, left, or right. I think the type of onside kicks we might see, the first thing that pops in my mind are what we used to call dodgeballs. So. Well, I guess no, that can't happen either because the kicker's lined up behind the receiving
Oh, no,
team.
that
Never
was
mind.
that was my fault.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't. I just put them on the wrong line. I just didn't go
Yeah.
back and change it. So they're going to be lined up exactly how they are today, and
Okay.
still no one can move. Right.
Right.
So this one, they don't get released until the ball's kicked,
Mhm.
similar to how it is today.
Right.
So the only difference is they will allow the offset alignment. So like in that way, it's cool because 5% of onside kicks were recovered. So
Right.
that should help with that, having the overload. But the fact that no one gets to move prior, is still going to make it a very hard play to succeed.
Right. Sure. Good deal. I like it though. It's a step in the right direction, that's for sure.
Yep.
And a really big, bold move for the NFL because they don't typically like to change, the optics of the game at all. But it's a much better solution than eliminating it. And I'll go to my grave with that one.
Yeah, well, and it did sound like special teams coaches around the league were a fan of kind of the progression of where this could go, right?
Mhm.
I mean, will it be perfect? Nah, but what rule is when they first bring it out? So,
Okay. All right, well, there you have it. All right, let's go to the chat room. What's going on here, Blake Lozinski? You're going on here. How are you, Blake? Glad to have you on. Looking forward to bringing you on with the rest of us. We'll figure out what show makes sense. I'm looking at next Wednesday, but we'll go out there and bring you on. If you don't want to come on, then just keep contributing in the chat room. That's okay. But we appreciate everything about you, Blake, Joshua, and everybody else in the chat room. So, come on, Blake. It isn't too hard. You don't have to deal with us. We're laid back. We have a family environment here. And with that said, let's talk about some of the news here. We're not going to get to every free agent signing. So for those of you that think we're going to do though, no way. We want to make sure you are able to have the rest of your evening without me going over every last one. So what I'm going to do is going forward is talk about certain things. I'll comment first and then turn it to everybody else. Let's talk about Sam Darnold going to the Vikings. 1 year, $10 million. Here's what I think. Number one, are they going to get another Baker Mayfield where he does well? Then you sign him to a longer-term contract, possibly. Or is Sam Darnold the placeholder for the rookie quarterback that perhaps Minnesota can draft? You could go either way on this. So with that said, I'll go from top to bottom. Coach, what do you think about Sam Darnold?
I like it. I think it's a good chance for him to kind of get a fresh start. And I thought the deal was a fair deal for both sides.
Okay. Brad?
Yeah, I agree with Coach. I think in some cases, players, having a change of address helps them. I mean, coming in with the Jets, this is an opportunity for him to kind of be like a Baker Mayfield and go out and try to prove it to where he can be a starter. Or like you said, Scott, he could be holding the fort down for the rookie quarterback, the Vikings draft. But I like the deal.
Okay. All right. We'll turn it over to Jeremy.
Well, that's because they couldn't afford the 30 to 40 million that it would have took to keep Cousins first and foremost. Sam Darnold is definitely a downgrade from Cousins, no matter how you slice it. He
Right.
has to learn a new system. He has to learn a new offensive coordinator. He has to learn his new offensive weapons. He had good offensive weapons when he was with the Jets. We saw that game one in 2018. He looked like the second coming of Joe Namath for a game. And then all of a sudden, boom, he fell flat on his face ever since. And he's flat on his face everywhere he's been. He's been in 3 changes of sceneries. I expect the same here in Minnesota. He's not that good of an NFL quarterback.
Well, therefore, what you're pretty much doing, Jeremy, is you're validating my point. He's probably a stopgap for about a year. Get somebody under, you draft somebody, you bring him in, and before long, you have a one and done. All right. With that said, we'll let Bo wrap up this topic. Go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Is he's just there to fill a spot because they lost their guy, right? So he's going to basically be that bridge quarterback for whoever they end up drafting. And I don't expect him to do a lot.
Okay, very good. Onwards we go. Russell Wilson going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 1 year, $1.2 million, according to Ian Rappaport. Denver owes Wilson nearly $38 million after terminating his contract. Well, you know what? In Pittsburgh, the Pirates don't like to spend a lot of money. In this case, the Steelers don't have to spend a lot of money thanks to the Denver Broncos, who said Christmas doesn't come a little bit earlier. All right, Jeremy, we'll start at the top with you. Okay, Russell Wilson.
Great move for the Steelers. They get to pay him 1.2 and he still makes 40.2 million this year. What a great move. I mean, the Broncos overpaid and now they're paying back because now they got 83 million in dead cap over the next 2 seasons because of it. They had to trade away Jerry Jeudy for a snack-sized can of Pringles and a fountain pop just to be able to afford to get their roster ready with draft picks. There's going to be a mass exodus there for 2 seasons of overpaid players is what's going to happen. And you're going to see that Sean Payton might not be able to resurrect this team as quick as everybody wanted to.
Good points, Jeremy, all the way around. Over to Coach.
It's a great take, Jeremy. I think so. I feel the same way. It'll be interesting to see how this one works out. You know what I mean? Again, it makes a lot of financial sense for the Steelers. It's a safe gamble. They're really not invested that much financially. If it works out and he has he can kind of return to form, then it was a great investment. If not, then again, they don't have that much capital wrapped up in him. They can keep looking for that next Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, let me go to Joshua Bernstein's question, Candy, who's asking me what I think the Dolphins for the upcoming season. They're losing a lot of good players because they were in salary cap purgatory. Now the question that you have right now with Miami is, can you at least find replacements that are marginal enough to offset some of what you've lost? That's going to be the key. So as far as the season is concerned, well, everything's going to depend on whether Tua could stay healthy. They managed to get a healthy year out of them. But again, when that salary cap can bite you, and it appears to have done that to the Fish, I'll be looking to see what happens over the course of free agency and the draft, Josh, and then I'll probably be able to give you more clarity on that. But that's what I see at the moment. All right, so with that said, we've got Brad and Bo left. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right, Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I agree with Coach and Jeremy. He goes to a team that that's right. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. He's in a good spot in Pittsburgh. That's all I'm going to say about that.
All right, Blake Lozinski. Do I like Mahomes? Yeah, he's a great quarterback. How do you not like the guy? I'm not going to use the word love out there. I only use that for my wife. So there you go. But liking players, that's another story. So nice. But Blake, you know how I feel about him. Heck of a quarterback on his way to Canton at some point down the road. But he's got 3 Super Bowls in his pocket. And with that said, Bo has the last word on it. As I mentioned before, Russell Williams is a better buy than the dollar store. Okay, because that's what you got here. Go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, this is a great move for the Steelers. They get him for nothing, and they needed competent quarterback play. They had a great defense. So, I mean, they'll still be able to get that out of Russell Wilson. And honestly, this is a good opportunity for Russ to resurrect his career, right? Because the last 2 years weren't good. His last year in Seattle wasn't amazing either. So he needs to use this platform to come in and absolutely ball out, because if he struggles here, his life in the NFL, you know, could fall away.
Yeah, but you know what I like about this thing with the Steelers is the fact he's going to play for Mike Tomlin, who could provide a calming influence. You don't need Sean Payton on your back every 5 seconds who doesn't believe in you. Mike Tomlin, to me, is the type of guy where stability, confidence, and he's very low keyed, and he'll give you space to do it. He's not going to beat you up all day long. I'm not saying that tactic works or doesn't work, but obviously we saw a problem there with Wilson and Sean Payton called a disconnect. But the fact is with Mike Tomlin, I give him a puncher's chance to at least find a home over at Pittsburgh. Time will tell how it actually plays out. All right, well, look at this, Bo. Look at Joshua. All right, what's up? All right, let's go to Bo. You know what? You start reading these things. All right, go ahead. You're my right hand, man.
So Chad, thanks for popping in, man. And happy you traded. Yeah. We thought we were going to get him. So that was a nice snag by you guys. Yep. Need a nickname. Yeah.
MPMM, they know what that is. I'm not wearing the Captainite Motor City Mad Mouth. You can see it on my thing somewhere. All right. Well, don't worry, Bo. We'll keep us caught up. All right. Well, Jeremy alluded to the Atlanta Falcons. Now we're going to talk about the Atlanta Falcons signing Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal reportedly worth $180 million, $100 million guaranteed, $50 million signing bonus. I'll tell you what, you won't find a better businessman than Kirk Cousins. All the guaranteed money he gets, starting with Washington, Minnesota, and now Atlanta. So, you know what? I like the move for the Falcons. It's certainly an upgrade over what they have. But I'm not ruling out the possibility that the Falcons won't draft another quarterback at some point anyways in the draft. But we'll find out. So, no, I think it's a pretty solid move for Kirk Cousins. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. With that said, we'll start off at the top of the coach.
I like it. I like it for both sides. You know, Kirk gets paid. And, you know, I think right away now Atlanta has the best quarterback in that division.
Right. No debate there. Okay. All right, Jeremy?
Coach nailed it, but I'm going to take it one further. When you add in the weapons they got and the way that defense played last year, they were 1 or 2 offensive scores away from being possibly a 10-win team and winning the division by a landslide. So you would throw in Kirk Cousins and his decision-making versus Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, and God forbid Bryce Young and what he's done there. You've got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, you got Behan, Tyler Algier, and all those guys. They should, by proxy, be a 10% better completion percentage team, and that's with a broken leg. Kirk Cousins versus Desmond Ridder. I mean, seriously, Desmond Ridder was awful.
Yeah, he really wasn't. That's for sure. All right. With that said, Bo, here you go.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the best quarterback in that division. Obviously, it's not a great division. And Atlanta wasn't that good. So they're not going to have a ton of primetime games. So that'll help him out. And I would imagine their new coach isn't going to just randomly forget that Bijan Robinson is on the roster. So I would imagine this team takes a step forward. So, yeah, I like the fit. It gets Kirk a spot where, you know, maybe he can do something in the postseason. He's got a good team around him. He's got an easier division. So, yeah, it's a good move for both Kirk and and the Falcons.
All right, Candy, I want you to go ahead and show the comment up there about Kirk gets paid, but Atlanta won't win a Super Bowl. Got that up there. Let's just go there. He's got some pretty good stuff up there. So Kirk gets paid, Atlanta gets a quarterback, won't win a Super Bowl. Well, I haven't won one yet. So, all right, let's keep rolling through the comments. All right, and we'll see. Bo, you got Blake there.
Well, I wouldn't be a good help for for a hockey show.
Yeah, don't worry. There's no plans at the moment, but we do put hockey topics on the Sports Exchange. All right, go ahead, Bo.
Maybe Kenny Pickett will be wearing a paper bag on his head while sitting on the bench. Yeah, I mean, no Justin Jefferson to throw to. Yeah, I mean, that's fine, though, because they do have a good tight end, and he uses his tight ends a lot.
Well, we have some characters in the chat room. I love it when we have that. Okay, Robert Wardell. Okay, you just mentioned him. All right, so with that said, we'll turn over to Brad. Last word on it.
Yeah, being that I'm in the Tampa Bay area with the Bucks, as someone who covers the Buccaneers, I think last year Atlanta could have, like Jeremy and Bo and John all said, they were one offensive play away from winning the division, and I think Kurt obviously makes the team much better than it was a year ago. So, yeah, I think it's a good move for the Falcons, and I think they're trying to overcome their collapse against the Patriots in the Super Bowl to get to the Super Bowl and actually win one. I know they've been there a couple of times, but this might be the player that might help them win their first.
So everybody's spoken on the subject, right? Right.
Yeah, so you think Kirk Cousins gets over the hump in Atlanta?
I do. The weapons that he has, that defense, yeah, by far, Bo. We were just talking earlier about some quarterbacks having to change addresses. This might be the one that, I mean, Kirk did very well in Washington, and then did well in Minnesota. Because obviously the Vikings couldn't afford his contract, so he went to Atlanta, and I think he can definitely help the Falcons. And yeah, the NFC South is not the greatest division in the world, as we saw last year. So yeah.
All right. Well, with that said,
can I add one more thing on that, Scott?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. When you start talking about is Kirk going to be a good fit in the offense and all of that stuff, just remember, Bradley, you mentioned it, right? He was in Washington. Well, who was his offensive coordinator in Washington? It was Sean McVay, right? And, where is Raheem Morris and his offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, coming from? They're coming from, they're coming from LA. They're coming from the Rams. So it's going to be a system. Look, the head coach he just left in Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell, where did he come from? The Rams, right? So it's going to be very easy for him. There won't be a transition. He knows the offense as good as all of those guys. And so it's a perfect fit from that standpoint. I see Raheem, who I really like a lot, as a defensive head coach, and with the talent that they've got on that defense, which Jeremy talked about, they're going to be a team that's going to, play, I think, to their strengths, which is their defense. Try to keep them off the field. Let Kirk Cousins not make mistakes and score. Move the ball. You just score field goals, score touchdowns. It doesn't have to be explosive. It's just got to be a sound offense that doesn't make mistakes and give the ball away to the other team.
Okay, well, let me answer a question here from Blake Lozinski. I like to ski, but once upon a time when I went skiing out in Vermont, I tore the ligaments in my ankle, led to knee surgery, and that was the end of my skiing days on Christmas Day. And by the way, a footnote there, Billy Martin was killed in an auto accident at night on Christmas Day. With that said, let me go over some company business before we proceed to the next topic. I just want everybody to know that Inside the Pigskin being broadcast around the world, the audio version of Inside the Pigskin can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Yeah, Duncan, it was definitely an ouch moment for me and then some. And off camera, if you ever want to come on here, I'll give you more of the gory details if anybody's interested. Want to be a guest? No problem. I got some qualified people in the chat room that are certainly making a case to do it. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. I'll go over other company information in a little bit. With that said, just want to make sure that we have everything that we are doing what we've got to do. And yes, we are. So I'm going to go on. We're going to stay with Blake, though, all right, since he's in Tampa. And we're going to talk about the Bucs. So, Blake, are the fans in the Tampa Bay area happy that Baker Mayfield is coming back? He signed a 3-year deal worth $100 million to retain him. The maximum value of that contract is $115 million, and he's going to, with incentives, and he's going to get $50 million guaranteed. Let's face it, Baker Mayfield had a very tough time here, but he was able to succeed following Tom Brady.
Yeah, earlier they were talking about taking, like with Russ in Pittsburgh and Sam Darnold as well, taking less money to do a prove-it deal. Obviously, last year Baker did that. He came here after Tom. Obviously, big shoes to fill. But yeah, I everyone that I listening to local radio that I do every day, they're all happy that obviously the first worry was getting Mike Evans back. When they got Mike back, I think it kind of guaranteed Baker was coming back because Mike came out and said, I'm not playing for a rookie quarterback. I'm not going to start over again. And then they signed Levante David today. So both him and Levante have been through the dark days with the Buccaneers and then the glory days of winning the Super Bowl, with Tom a few years ago. But yeah, it was a good deal. Obviously, that's what he was going to get. He wasn't going to get Danny Dimes money with the Giants. So I think it's a good deal for the Bucs and a good deal for Baker.
Okay, Coach, what do you think about Baker Mayfield's return to the Bucs?
I like it. I like it. Matched up with the new OC there, who he was with in LA. He did a good job this year in a contract year. They're comfortable with him. I think. Again, I think it was a fair deal, and I think ultimately it's good for the Bucs.
Okay, we'll turn over to Jeremy.
It was a great move for the Bucs. It's a good move for Baker. My only concern is he going to be as good without Dave Canales there, who really helped him to get his mechanics and decision making back in line. I understand that he's reunited with an old OC where he had some success, but at the same time, it was limited success because he was only there for 4 games.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, obviously, it's good for Baker. He gets paid finally. So I mean, great opportunity for him. They kind of ran back a team that did have some success, but at the end of the day, it's Baker. And I mean, I don't know how much success you're really going to have. You have moments where he comes out and you're like, okay, he looks like he's that guy. And then he'll turn around the next game and throw 3 picks. And you're like, oh, what are we doing? We forgot how to play football. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to go as far as Baker can let you go. Unfortunately, that's probably a first or second round exit if you do make it to the playoffs.
All right, Candy, back to the chat room. Okay, Blake Lozinski, Joshua Bernstein, you should run some ads on here. All right, I got a salesman out there and a guy that's going to come on the show if he wants to. Joshua Bernstein says, do we have a sponsor? Spot on, my friend. All right, we'll be talking soon there, Josh, not that we don't already. The Bucs signing Mayfield is a good move. Yeah, no doubt about that. And let's go ahead, Bo. This one's longer. You can do it.
Nah, just keep rolling because they keep popping up.
Yeah, I know. I tell you, I'm getting an eye test here tonight. That's okay. My vision's only 20/70 or who knows what it is. But Baker was whoever's doing it is throwing me off. All right, Baker was a good move. still won't win a Super Bowl. Be competitive. Smart, stop making commercials. That's true, though. When he started focusing, that's a good point, Rob, that when he went out there and focused on football, he was better off. He really, really was. So I like that point. Jesse Stewart is the next big guy in the NFL. You know what? Just read him. By the way, folks, you can see our information also on the ticker as well at the bottom of our screen. Magnetic Bat Company would be a good show. So I like that one. That's pretty good. Okay, go ahead, Josh. We'll give you a finder's fee. All right, I like Baker, but it means nothing because the Lions are winning it all this year. There we go. I'm sure Jeremy will like that one.
You can tell that's one of my guys.
All right,
So
And
Josh,
by the way,
I did have a couple of nicknames when I played. Thumper and of course Hollywood, because on non-padded days I always wore sunglasses.
So now it all comes out with Gerald. He's a co-host on Brad's show. Good stuff. All right. Now that we got those out for the moment, okay, has everybody gotten an opportunity to talk about the Buccaneers? If you haven't, let me know. If you have, we're going to talk some running backs. So we're going to make it very brief on every one. And I'm going to ask each of my panelists as to whether or not these guys are good fits for their team or not, so we can try to keep it real, okay? With that said, we'll lead off with Bo, okay? And that's this. All right. DeAndre Swift. Okay, good for the Bears, bad for the Bears.
Well, I mean, it's good for the Bears. They needed everything. So, I mean, anytime you can get a talent like Swift in there, that's going to help the team out. And so I like Swift as a back. There's still so many holes to fill. I don't know that necessarily the Bears are going to be that much better, but I mean, it's an element they needed.
The only thing I'll say about it is if Swift stays healthy, it's good. If he doesn't, reverts back to Detroit style, which I know Jeremy's about to probably back me up on, and you have another situation. But that said, Brad, okay, we'll talk about Swift. I have like a handful of running backs we're going to talk about tonight. DeAndre's one of them. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, Bo's right. I mean, the Bears need everything, and they get the first pick. Are they going to trade Justin Fields? Is he going to stay? And I think the last time that I was on the show, they were talking about, or maybe it was on my show, where do you want to have a new coach come in with a rookie quarterback, and it's a big mess in Chicago? But DeAndre Swift will definitely help the running game in Chicago.
Okay. All right. With that said, Jeremy, I know what you're going to say, but you can say it anyways. Go ahead.
DeAndre Swift just had his healthiest year behind the second best O-line in the league. Right. Where does the Bears O-line rank? 27th. In the running game, they're 27th. You know what that means? Their yards before contact last year was 1.2 yards. The average at 15 was 2.5 yards before contact. DeAndre Swift will be broken if he has more than 15 touches in a game, just like in Detroit when we had a bad O-line.
Good enough. All right, Coach, I guess you have the last word on this, right?
Yeah, that's a great point, Jeremy. You're right. And, obviously staying healthy is always the paramount thing for any player. I like the move for Chicago because, as Bo pointed out, they needed players. I always felt like when you took a quality player, doesn't even have to be the best player, but when you got a player from another team in the division, it was always an added bonus because not only does he know the personnel and the scheme where he's coming from, he knows the other two teams that are, in the division. So, he knows what it's like to go to Minnesota, play in that environment. Knows what it's like to go play in Green Bay in that environment. And he knows what it's like, or he's played games in Chicago and Soldier Field. So, those are the kind of little things that can definitely help out or, swing in your favor, or especially early on in the year when you bring a player in from, when you sign a free agent.
Okay, Blake, you asked me how you can buy a hat. Which one you want, South Florida Tribune or Motor City Madmouth? What you can do to get one is contact Candy Eblings through southfloridatribune@gmail.com, and she'll email you back and forth, and we'll get you one. How does that sound? Thanks for asking. We appreciate you very much there, Blake. I'm still looking forward to getting you on there, pal. So don't worry. Well, I won't be too hard on you. All right. Well, let's go to Derrick Henry.
If I can put one other thing on that.
Yeah, sure.
The other thing that helps, and it makes it look like they may be keeping Fields there, is Swift does have pretty good hands out of the backfield as far as small, short catches, which is all they seem to allow Fields to throw. So I think he will get utilized in some of that short passing game.
All right. Well, since you're on camera, you know what, Bo, we might as well start off with you here with Derrick Henry. And I'll ask you guys here, just give me a good move or bad move, a little bit of extra. But, you know, Derrick Henry with the Baltimore Ravens, boy, that to me seems like you got a beast. And Lamar Jackson's got to be the happiest person on the planet with Derrick Henry in that backfield. All right, Bo, since you're on camera first, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I like that move. I really thought Dallas was going to try and get after him, but Baltimore having Derrick Henry, man, that's on some of those option plays, you can't want to be one of those outside guys having to pick which one of them to bring down. So I like that for the Ravens. Helps their running game. Probably frees up some stuff for Lamar Jackson to do what he does.
Coach?
I love it. You know, I'm a big Derrick Henry fan. I think he brings an element to the game and his style of play that is rare. And, for a team that really is two-dimensional, I mean, Baltimore does a good job of running the football. To have that guy in the backfield, I mean, with Jackson, like Bo just said, I mean, I think it's a really, really good combination. It's going to be tough to face those guys. The tough just got even tougher.
Okay, Brad, some thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with Coach. It's a good move. He's a great running back, and he's just going to make that offense even more dynamic than it already is. So, yeah, good luck to everyone that plays the Baltimore Ravens this year.
Jeremy, you have the last word on this one, and we have a few more running backs we want to get to. Then we're going to bring Candy Ebling on for a moment. All right, go ahead.
It was a fantastic move by the Ravens to bring Derrick Henry in. He's that bruising type of back that they expected J.K. Dobbins to be. J.K. Dobbins, though, unfortunately has the health of DeAndre Swift and can't make it through a season without blowing out a knee, blowing out an ankle, or pulling a leg cramp. Either way, he's much healthier. He's had one season where he was hurt, and it was a weird freak injury. He hasn't been the guy that's had bad knees and bad ankles yet. He is getting up there in age, and he has lowered the amount of yards per carry he has, but he's still better than anybody on that roster.
The only thing I'll say about it as we close this one out is this could be the move the Ravens had that could win a Super Bowl when you have Henry and Jackson in the back. I really believe that. Candy, stay on, but I want to get to a couple more running backs. Saquon Barkley, Jeremy, well, we ended with you. We're going to start with you to the Eagles. Some thoughts.
The Eagles signing Saquon Barkley. You know what? It's kind of a salty move to Giants fans because that's the exact contract they offered Saquon Barkley the year before. So the reason why they didn't contact him about it this year is they already turned it down once. So he goes and signs with the competition in the division to rub it in their face for the exact amount of money that he was offered last year to get off of the franchise tag. So yeah. I think he's going to run it down the Giants' throats, and he's going to hurt them bad every game they play.
Okay. Bo's nodding his head, so take that nod and put some voice behind it.
Yeah, no, 100%. That deal was to stick it to his old team. There is no doubt. The way that contract negotiations went, the way they did last year, the fact that they just didn't really offer him anything this year. Yeah, players are people, right? And if you can go somewhere to contend, you can still get paid, and you can stick it to the guys that didn't want you, you absolutely do that.
Yeah, but the only key here with Saquon Barkley is he must stay healthy. He really does.
Well, they have a good offensive line.
Well, that's true. But if he stays healthy, then the deal looks even better. But again, we talk about running backs. You know, they do tend to get injured for whatever reason. But staying healthy, and you're right, the Giants are in trouble. Okay. We got who's next?
Hey, Scott, I wanted to talk about Gerald Wisniewski's comment here. The one about Barkley left the Giants because of the QB. Daniel Jones is a bust. If Daniel Jones is a bust, the exact same quarterback plays for the Jaguars. It's Trevor Lawrence. Go look at his stats. He has one less completion percentage. He's one lower on QBR. He has two less touchdowns and two more interceptions than Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones is a bust, Trevor Lawrence is a bust.
Okay, that's fine. All right. I guess you got Jeremy's goat rolling. All right. So, Candy, you're doing a good job keeping everybody there so I don't lose track because my head is going everywhere. All right. Brad, some thought, which is a good thing. I love this action. This is unbelievable. One of the best shows we've ever had, and I love the action. It's nonstop. All right, Brad, Barkley.
I agree with Bo and Jeremy. You know what? It's time for Saquon Barkley to make money and be represented. And you know what? Sorry, Giants, you wasted away. And guess what? Now in Philadelphia, he's going to stick it to you. And then when he holds the Lombardi trophy over his head in the near future, he's going to think back and say, yep, could have been in New York.
Yeah, just on I-95, right? Okay, so there you go. Who's next?
Coach.
Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a combination of the last two answers, right? So same things that we just said about, DeAndre Swift going in the division to going to Chicago. That same thing holds true with Saquon. And then, what you guys have mentioned is the other portion of that, which is the motivation factor, the pride factor. Divisional trades always, or divisional, pickups, guys within the division always favors the traveling player and the receiving team.
Okay, well, we're going to go to a guy that I have a little bit of partiality to, and that's Devin Singletary. You know what? Obviously, the Giants lost Barkley, but you know what? I watched this kid play at Florida Atlantic University, and he is a stud, period, okay? Obviously, Devin Singletary was a factor with the Buffalo Bills. He did pretty good work with the Texans. So if for you Giants fans are disappointed that Barkley left, I believe that you'll be very pleased with Devin Singletary. So I hate to say there's a consolation prize. It's not the worst consolation prize I've ever seen. With that said, Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, well, you lost Barkley and Singletary. He's a good running back. And again, it'll be interesting to see how the Giants use him in their offense and stuff like that. But it's a compilation prize, and the Giants made a good one. Got a good one.
Okay, everybody, who's left? I love this, asking who's left. All right, we go. You did a good job, Coach. Devin Singletary.
Yeah, I mean, not too much more to add there. I mean, they lost a great player, I think, first round pick in Barkley, and but they pick up a quality player and probably a younger player too.
Okay. All right. Well, Jeremy, go ahead.
Devin Singletary is the exact opposite of Eric Gray, the guy they drafted last year. Eric Gray is more of that ground and pound in between the tackles who can receive out of the backfield, but he doesn't have the speed at that 4.55 that he ran in the combine, and it shows every bit of that on the field in his pads. So, that being said, Devin Singletary is fast. He can get around the corner on the outside, and he can receive the ball just as well as Eric Gray. Those two together are like that thunder and lightning combo that everybody looks for running back by committee. I think it'll be a great addition. I think you'll see whoever gets the more yardage per carry that game will get the 20 carries, and the other one will get the other 15.
Okay, Candy, put Blake's question to me on there. Okay, but go ahead. Well, I want to answer this before I turn over to Bo. Do I do any sports betting? No, I don't. But that's not to say people haven't come to me to ask for information about sports betting. Me personally, I don't like to do that. I when I watch sports, I'm mainly the type of guy that wants to write about it. I'm old school journalism all the way. And with that said, we'll turn it over to Bo. And then I have some other information I want to convey. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Singletary, I like him as a player. Unless they do something with that offensive line, his speed isn't going to be helpful. So even though I like the pickup, at the end of the day, they got a lot of work to do that offensive line to make a speed guy even an option, because if he's getting lit up at the line of scrimmage, he doesn't have the size to do anything with it.
Okay. All right. With that said, let me go over some other information here. Our website, 3 W's, okay. www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter/X @Tribune South. Candy Evelyn's behind the scenes. Now she's on camera. Okay, and she's a mastermind behind this South Florida Tribune. And yes, I have a book out there called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, available on Kindle and Amazon. And now it is available on Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Nobles, and we are looking for more, so stay tuned. So Barnes & Noble, welcome to the South Florida Tribune, Lessons from the Microphone family. This book pretty much talks about old school media versus new school media. All right, well, you know what? Now Candy's in here, and I wonder why Candy's on the broadcast. Well, you know what? We're going to give her first word on Josh Jacobs going to the Green Bay Packers, and then she's going to talk about Aaron Jones going to the Minnesota Vikings. Candy, welcome to the big show. We have a good audience tonight, don't we, Candy?
We have an awesome audience tonight and very well liked in the chat. I love all the different chats and everybody chiming in. So thank you, everybody, for that. So my thoughts, Aaron Jones, he has been a staple in the Green Bay Packer run game for quite some time, but he's not as young as he once was. Let's face it. The Packers asked him to take a $5 million pay cut last year already. This year, he was scheduled to make $12 million. They wanted him to take a 50% pay cut, so $6 million. So what did he say? He wanted to test the market. And unfortunately, because I know he's a fan favorite, and the one thing I think they're going to miss is his being able to gel the team together and round up all of the young, let's face it, the Green Bay Packers were one of the youngest teams in the NFL. And I think you need some veteran leadership. So I'm a little scared, but Josh is younger and he's 26, I believe. So he's a little bit younger, fresher legs. And the Packers are heading towards younger team all around. I mean, they got rid of Bakhtiari, and Jones was also injury prone. So good move. I like the Josh move. I'm not sold that I'm crazy about Jones leaving, but at the end of the day, it is a business. And he's got to take what he can get for himself. So good for him. Do I like him going to Minnesota? No. Is he going to have a better chance of winning a Super Bowl in Minnesota? No. But at the end of the day, his career, he only has how many more years left? He's got to get as much as he can while he still can. So I don't, as much as I hate someone going to Minnesota, just like Brett Favre went to Minnesota and, others, it is what it is. And he's going to have an axe to grind when he plays against the Packers. So I just hope our run defense is ready for him.
All right. To answer Jesse's questions, I really don't have a thought about Ryan Hoffman this year, so I'll refrain from that. If anybody else wants to take it later in the show, that's okay. So with that said, I'll just comment on this real briefly. First of all, Josh Jacobs is an upgrade. I believe he's a multifaceted player, a receiver, as well as a running back. And Aaron Jones, because of the injury situation, well, I could see where his time had come to an end with Green Bay. I don't have a problem with it. The only thing that I can say about Jones is he's going to be playing in a dome, so that could help him a little bit. But other than that, Green Bay will be fine. Okay. All right. So with that said, let's pick this thing up with Bo. All right. The two running backs, give me your thoughts, please.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the move. Josh Jacobs is an upgrade, but I get the history of Jones a little bit. But at the end of the day, the team is changing personnel everywhere, right? They're getting younger across the board, and this supports that. He is a back that does have good hands. So ultimately, it's a good move for him. Yeah, I don't know. I liked the move overall.
Brad.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be easier for Josh Jacobs, obviously, in Green Bay. They're getting younger. Jordan Love, obviously, is a blossom for the Packers, and I think it's going to be harder for, Aaron Jones is injury prone, and he's going to the Vikings, who at this point don't have a quarterback. So I think it'll be easier for Josh Jacobs in Green Bay.
Hey, Jeremy.
You know what I think? I think Green Bay kind of bumped their head getting rid of Aaron Jones, because if you'd have left him there because he's a little faster and a little more sure-handed in the out of the backfield than what Josh Jacobs is, they would have had the best running back room in the North. By getting rid of him, it's great for Minnesota because they just cut Alex Madison because that guy couldn't even average 4 yards a carry.
Right.
And he's going to do better than that there. And he's going to be somebody Sam Darnold can rely on as a check down because let's face it, Sam Darnold is check down Charlie of the NFL.
That's good. I like that. All right, everybody.
But
All right,
Josh Jacobs, she was right about one thing. Josh Jacobs just turned 26 on February 11th. He was born in 1998.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll turn over to Coach.
I have zero to add. After all of that excellent commentary, let's move on. I'm good.
So, Coach, what do you think of the crew we have tonight?
It's a great crew.
Yeah.
Great crew.
I'm proud of the participation in the chat room. I really am. All you people in the chat room. If I could hug all of you, I would, but at least you know I'm thinking about it. Candy, you know what? If you want to stay on, we only have 2 more topics. Fine. If you don't, that's okay. 2 more topics to go before we wrap it up tonight. The Patriots trading Mac Jones to his hometown Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll just say this, okay? A lot of people wonder about the move, but Doug Peterson, if anybody can get Mac Jones straight, it would be him. I see him as a backup in an insurance policy for Trevor Lawrence. So I don't have a problem with the move. I really don't, but I think the key here is Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson can fix quarterbacks, and whatever happened to Mac Jones under Belichick, Josh McDaniels, Joe Judge, Bill O'Brien. Okay, Matt, as Jeremy would say, I'll say it for you, Jeremy, because you're not going to say it, Matt Patricia. Okay, but I will this time. Okay. You can't recover from that mentally anyway. So, all right, Doug Peterson, you can fix Mac Jones. All right, Katie, go ahead. Give me your thoughts on this one.
If Doug can't fix Mac Jones, nobody will be able to. Let's face it. Doug's a proven, he was a quarterback back in the day. That's what he specializes in. And if he can't elevate, and I think he's bringing him in, because I think Trevor needs a little bit of push. I think Trevor's can be a lot better, and I think he needs that push to elevate his game to the next level. Did he do well this past year? No. I think Trevor needs that push because he's proven he can do it. I mean, he did it in the playoff games, but this year he kind of fell back. He felt a little injury prone. They need to shore up and make sure that their offensive line protects from him. And I'm going to say that about most of the quarterbacks, because if you don't protect your quarterback, you're not going to survive in this league. They have the weapons, they just need, I think, to shore up that offensive line. That's my 2 cents.
Jesse Stuber, thanks a lot for the kind words. I appreciate you. We work hard to prepare for these shows, and when we have people like you complimenting us, it's great. We work hard. All right, Coach, you had you at the back of the pile. Now you're at the front of the pile this time.
Yeah, I like the move. I like the for a 6th round pick. You're getting at minimum, an experienced backup, a young player. Trevor Lawrence played hurt last year. He was playing off of no practice. Very, very few players can do that and be successful, let alone a guy that's still a young guy. So I think they've got a good quarterback there. I mean, I really like them. I think this move helps them, and I think it helps Matt Jones as well.
Okay, Bo.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think he can actually provide a little more pressure than people think. I'm not a big Mac Jones guy, but Trevor Lawrence is 1-18 when his defense doesn't create a turnover in the last 3 years. So that's not, it tells you that their defense doesn't get turnovers a lot of the time, but it also means he can't win those games. So if Doug Peterson is that quarterback guru, that's a number they have to figure out. And maybe having Mac Jones, even if it doesn't necessarily make Lawrence better, maybe it makes their defense better on the scout team.
All right. Well, Blake was giving me an update on the comments. We have that many. That's great. And we'll mention the hockey playoffs. And the hockey playoffs, just so you know, folks that are listening, we'll do a lot more of that on the Sports Exchange. So we definitely have a lot of good hockey on the way. So if you're a hockey fan, Sports Exchange, and who knows, we might have fire up episodes as well with Candy and Jeremy. They do a good job on those. I'm sure they'll definitely bring up some hockey stuff as well. So, all right, with that said, what do I got left? I love asking because Candy does magic to let me know who they are. And we got old Jeremy with that Gomer Pyle smile.
Are we talking about Josh Jacobs now?
Mac Jones.
Yes.
Tell me.
Mac Jones. Mac Jones.
Oh, Mac Jones? Believe it or
Why?
not, I think he was brought
Why,
in.
did you get your piece on Josh Jacobs?
All I really was, all we were really talking about was Aaron Jones. We really didn't talk about what Josh Jacobs does for that that offense in
Okay.
Green Bay. What you're going to see is Jordan Love's actually going to be able to sit in the pocket more and have to run less because Josh Jacobs is that bruising back that
Right.
does have breakaway speed, knows how to break tackles. The only guy that breaks tackles better than him is in the same division. And I don't need to say it because we all saw it last year.
Okay, now
And
you
it isn't Jahmyr Gibbs.
Right. All right, now you could transition over to
Mac Jones.
Yeah,
Mac Jones, I said it when he was drafted at 12 by or 14 or whatever it was to the Patriots that year when he went to New England. He was the most pro-ready quarterback coming out of college, and it really depended on the system he went to for success. But at the same time, he was at the ceiling of his level. So every year that he went on, and if he was in the wrong system, that ceiling would shrink while the floor raised, just like the Willy Wonka hallway. And he would have to duck every year coming in. He's going to a guy that has helped Carson Wentz, Nick Foles,
Right.
Jalen Hurts before he left, because Jalen Hurts is even becoming a better quarterback within that year that he first took over for Carson Wentz. So if you look at that, if anybody's going to get Mac Jones right, it's him. And it may be a chance to push Trevor because it's somebody that could possibly push for the starting job if he gets corrected. His mechanics started to get off. And of course, that's going to happen when Matt Patricia was his offensive coordinator for a year.
Now, I said you couldn't say Patricia. I'm the boss.
I did it again.
I don't care about your stupid body language. You don't say it. And you know what I'll do the next time you do it when I come up to Detroit? I'll take a trip out of Mark Harmon's thing over on NCS. I'll slap you across the back of the head. I'm sure you, and knowing you'd like it. You want me to do it again. It doesn't matter. You can't say Patricia.
Thank you, sir. Can I have another?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll smack him across the head, but I love the guy anyway. But I'm the boss. I say Matt.
I had to say it.
I know. Yeah, because you knew I didn't want you to do it, but you
Yeah,
did it anyway. You know what? All I can say is your book is in the mail. All right. It doesn't matter. All right. Go ahead.
What do I think about
Before I
Jordan
kill
Mack?
Jeremy.
or
And I have a lot of witnesses that'll see I'm doing it, so I can't get away with it. Go ahead, Brad. Lighthearted conversation here on Inside the Pigskin.
As a Patriot fan, it was kind of sucks that Mac didn't work out in New England, but Gerard Mayo's there. They got rid of Belichick. They got they cleaned house, so it's time for a new regime in New England. So obviously, with the third pick, could be getting a quarterback, but I'm happy for Mac. And I agree with it. I think he will put some fire under Trevor Lawrence's ass in Jacksonville.
The key word here, folks, competition. Competition's a beautiful thing. And it looks like Mr. Lawrence is going to have a little bit of competition from Mr. Jones. Everybody in? One more to go. And speaking of Jacksonville, Minshew Mania is headed to the Raiders via the Colts. So I love watching Gardner Minshew play with the Jaguars, and he's been a pretty serviceable quarterback wherever he's gone. So, but with the Raiders and Antonio Pierce, and I think the Raiders are still going to draft a quarterback. I love them. Anywhere that Gardner Minshew can go is great. Can only imagine what that scenario is going to look like in Las Vegas. Oh, my gosh. Minshew Mania there. Holy moly. They say one of the most entertainment capitals in the world. And I can see on all those little billboards out there that are being lit up, Minshew Mania hits Vegas. Oh, we only had a Super Bowl there. What's Minshew Mania? All right. With that said, Bo, I know you're laughing, and I'm having a blast. What's going on, Josh? Oh, we are going on. Jeremy, do you think Jordan Mack or Chris Turk. All right, this one's headed to you first.
Well, Jordan Mack is the assistant athletic director of the SMU program, and I think he's doing a great job after that team had the death sentence for so many years. I mean, he's helping them with finding good coaching and recruiting. And SMU is a college that's now on or a university that's on the rise versus where they were at. I mean, they were given the ultimate death penalty for football. So I think he's doing a fine job. But Chris Turk, I haven't heard of. I'll have to do some research. I don't want to say anything out of pocket.
The only thing I'll say about SMU, they're headed to the ACC, period. All right. Final topic of the night. Back to Gardner Minshew. All right. I think it's going to be pretty cool in Las Vegas. But what do you think, Jeremy?
Minshew going to Oakland, it's a good thing because we saw Aiden O'Connell start to emerge under Anthony Pierce there at the end after they finally benched that guy that wasn't worth anything.
Did I hear you say Oakland? Do you have a geography problem?
No, there will always be the Oakland Raiders in my eyes.
All right, that's where the clarity is. I didn't know if there was a geography situation that got in the way of all of it.
Not a geography thing. There's still the Oakland Raiders in my eyes.
Okay, well,
just like I still say San Diego Chargers.
All right, well, I'm sure we have a lot of fans out there who will probably agree with you on both assessments, but continue on.
But Minshew is one of those good to great backup quarterbacks. He's falling in line with like Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's not good enough to be your starter and take you through the entire season, but if your quarterback goes down, he's good enough to win you some games.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, we'll turn over to Candy. She was with me when Minshew Mania was going on.
Oh, do I miss Minshew Mania in Jacksonville? But with that being said, he is a very good backup quarterback. He is one that has such a good work ethic that he is constantly there and he's putting everything into it. Let's face it, the Colts are bringing back Anthony Richardson's coming off his injury. So Gardner went to someplace he got money. He's getting, his deal is 2 years, $25 million with $15 million fully guaranteed as a backup. Who wouldn't want that? And is he going to be a QB1? No. And he realizes that, but take as much money as you can for as long as you can with whatever team you can as a backup to sit and help foster and bring. He is someone that can also help mentor and help push and elevate other young quarterbacks and other team members as well. So I think it's a good move.
Just to let everybody know, I covered the NFL draft and was in Jacksonville when the Jaguars went ahead and drafted him, and Doug Marrone and Tom Coughlin were excited about him. And when they brought him on the phone there, it was just fun to listen. And he was a later round pick, so you can draft a good quarterback anywhere. Let's go to Jesse Stuber. Back to the comments section. We don't leave anything out. Jacksonville is actually my favorite city down in Florida. I actually had the desire of buying there once. I was able to own a home, but I went to Alabama rather than own one. Sorry, nothing wrong with that. Good, sounds like a good, sound business decision. Okay, we'll go to the one below it. Okay, everything down there is climbing up like great with the prices. All right, the man that doesn't live too far away there is Coach. Go ahead.
I like the move. I thought Candy and Jeremy both had really strong points. I mean, again, you're bringing a guy in to be the backup. He's played really well in spurts, as Jeremy pointed out. You're not the guy that you want to lead your team for a full season, but if it's for a stretch in the middle of the season or at the, because you have an injury, I think it's a good fit. Happy for him.
Brad?
Yeah, he's been good everywhere he's gone. And, like Candy said, he can mentor your young quarterback. So happy for him. And, I agree. I agree with Jeremy. I still call the Chargers San Diego. I don't call them Los Angeles. So, yeah, They will always be the San Diego Chargers in my eyes.
Okay. Bo, you have the last word on this.
Yeah, I stumble when I say San Diego also. I've pretty much got Las Vegas down, but for whatever reason, I struggle with the San Diego Chargers. But, Minshew, I always make that same comparison, as he really is this new era's Fitzpatrick. And so he's a lot of fun to watch. He brings excitement. He can win you games. He can also throw a bunch of picks. You really never know, but he's always a ton of fun. So for him to go with the Raiders, I mean, I feel like it's a good fit. He probably will actually challenge for a starting spot there first.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, I have a feeling there's more to this move than meets the eye. What an awesome show here tonight. And I'm glad that we were able to get to everybody in the chat room. I'm so proud of the participation that we ended up in the chat room. I know we're over an hour, but you know what? I'll go as long as we have to go to make sure everybody's voice is heard inside with my crew as well as the chat room. It doesn't make any difference to me. That's what we're in this business to do, is make sure we entertain and inform. And tonight we had a pretty good house, but we're looking to get much better than this. I'm not satisfied with this, but let me tell you, the word improvement and growth is something that I really dream about every day with this platform. I'm proud where it's gone, but I'm really proud of where I have the right horses here to make sure I know where it's going to go. With that said, I'm going to do something a little different tonight, okay? We're going to let Candy Ebling lead off to give our information, and then I'll go right down with everybody else instead. Okay, Candy, go ahead. I'm not saying it. The only thing I'll say is for those of you that have been watching us, we have the ticker at the bottom so you can get all of our information there. And those of you that are listening, we got Candy Ebling. Go ahead, Candy, take it away.
If you enjoyed this episode, and there were so many people talking, so many comments, great, awesome, love the interaction, but there's a red subscribe button. If you see that red subscribe button, that means you have not subscribed to us. Why not? Come watch all of our programming. If you like baseball, we have 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, which is normally on Monday nights. Inside the Pigskin is Tuesday nights. Sports Exchange, we talk about all sports. We've talked about cornhole. We've talked about hockey. We've talked about, you name it, we've talked about it on there. Thursday nights is typically Fire Up, but it also is Pundit's Pundit. And then you never know, we might sprinkle in some other shows in there. Motor City Madmouth, No Limits. We've talked to book authors. We have Professor and Pupil. We have Fire Up Michigan, Fire Up Wisconsin, Fire Up Florida. You name it, it's there. And if we don't have a show and you want us to have a show, contact us. And if you want to be on our shows, comment like you did, like so many of you have tonight. If you like to do any kind of reading, you will want to get Scott's book. It's up in the right-hand corner, Lessons from the Microphone. It is available Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble, and you never know where else it's going to pop up soon. If you like to listen to podcasts, all of our broadcasts are available on Spreaker, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, it's there. Go see it. And then we have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where Scott writes, Jeremy writes, George Eichhorn writes. We have so many different writers, and you'll see my pictures. So we also have transcripts from the Jaguars, the Dolphins, the Lions. We have FAU sports, so FAU basketball we've been covering. Scott was there Saturday for their last home game of the season. You name it, it's there. Go see it. USF, we have USF there. We have Florida Gator information there. We have Miami Hurricanes. They're starting some of them are all starting their spring practices right now. Their spring games are coming up. We'll be covering a couple of them. Watch for more content. But just, and if you want to be a sponsor, we were talking about that earlier on the show. I heard someone talking about it. Call Scott, 954-304-4941. And last but important, most of our panelists here have their own shows. We would appreciate you subscribing to ours, but also watching theirs and subscribing to theirs as well, because they're giving up their time to be on ours. We appreciate it. So please subscribe to their as well as us.
Well done, Candy. Couldn't have done it better. The one thing about my book, I tell people, old school media versus new school media, who can benefit by this book? Everybody. Whether you know anything about the media or you don't, everybody can learn from it. So otherwise, Candy, I couldn't have done that any better myself. All right. With that said, first, well, Candy, why don't you just let everybody know the couple of shows you're on? Then I'll go right down from Jeremy all the way down. Candy's on a couple of shows. Go ahead, Can.
Well, earlier tonight, you can find me on 3 Chicks in a Pod or Chicks and Salsa. It just depends on how many of us chicks are talking. But we do a Tuesday night, typically 7:30, sometimes 7:15 to 8 o'clock show. We talk all kinds of sports. Tonight we were talking NFL free agency, like we did tonight here on Inside the Pigskin. But we also have Megan Price. She's awesome on talking about basketball. So she was talking about college hoops. Because it's March Madness now, and she's very much into college sports. We had Jen Matthew Lewis. She is our Carolina Panthers girl. And typically we have Carrie on there as well. And then Thursday nights, you can find me and my co-host, Jeremy, Smoking Jeremy B. And sometimes we'll have Ralph and George join us. And you never know what topic we're going to be talking about on Fire Up. And sometimes we'll even do it on Sundays. But then it's just me and Jeremy.
There you go. I should point out, everybody, this weekend, I will be up in Sebring, Florida for the 12 Hours of Sebring. This will be my third opportunity to go out there and cover this race. I covered the 24-hour Rolex race a year ago. I love endurance racing, and this is one of those things where you have like 325 media people, and there's 125 more, so there's going to be one big media turnaround all over the world covering this event. All right, Jeremy, patiently waiting with the right hat on. Okay, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Well, you can find me, as Candy said, under the South Florida Tribune.com with the Motor City Tribune heading. You can find me on many shows here on the South Florida Tribune.com YouTube channel. God, I can't speak tonight. It's been a rough night. But you can find me here occasionally on Tuesdays on Inside the Pigskin. Occasionally, we might do a Fire Up Michigan on Wednesdays with Scott and George and whoever our guest is. And then there's the Fire Up that we do on Thursday, which is more of like a continuation of the Sports Exchange. And then we have our Fire Up, where we come up with our own topics on Sundays when we do it. Then you got my channel, Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions. I'm live every day, 11 a.m., Monday through Friday, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights at 9 p.m.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Bo.
Yeah, so you can find me here every Tuesday night, and of course on my channel at Football-Talk, and on Roku TV 5 days a week.
Okay, we'll take it over. Coach, you have a website you want to talk about, promote?
You can find me here most Tuesday nights or on LinkedIn. That's the only form of social media that I'm on by choice. And weather's starting to get nice, so we're taking the boat out a little bit more frequently now.
All right, did you mention something about Portdown University? Do you want to elaborate on that?
No, I don't. That's something I want you and Candy to look at. I just sent you a sample of a what we call at BSN a sideline store, and I'd like to set one up for you and for the Florida Times Tribune so that our fans can purchase gear.
That sounds good. We'll talk about it afterwards, Coach. You and I have a lot to talk about afterwards anyways, just be one of the things. All right, Brad, my man from USF, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I can come back here on Tuesday nights. I have my own show called The Walker Report. That is also on my YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, like Candy said. If you want to read my articles, I write for ngsesports.com. I am currently covering women's USF softball, men's baseball, and women's lacrosse at USF. And, of course, when the calendar rolls around, horns up, USF football coming at you.
There you go. Well, just like I told Brad off camera, I'll say it now. He's one of those guys that I can use in a couple of places. Whether you see him on Florida, on football, fine. You're going to see him more on baseball as well. I added a new person last night to our baseball show. His name is Mark Meredai, and I know Mark going back to when we met on Twitter, and we ultimately caught up at Cooperstown. So if you want to see Brad, you're going to see him either on football or you're going to see him on baseball. Either way, he's got a spot. And if we find a fire-up show, and if Candy, for some reason, or Jeremy want him on a Sunday, that's at their discretion. I don't enforce anything. I just know there's opportunities for people that have a great attitude. And Brad is certainly a guy that I certainly take an awful lot of pride in. And I am determined to make sure that he develops and is a good, sound fit to our family that we have here. So what an incredible night tonight. It really is, with all the participation in the chat room. I know we covered a lot of ground. So if you want to listen to the show again, more power to you. Otherwise, you know what? We'll have a fresh edition next week. Melfar should be back next week. Melfar, we're hoping will be on Pundit's Pundit tomorrow. And again, I'm looking forward to going to Sebring this weekend. So, you know, I love football. I love baseball, a lot of the other sports, but very few people out there even realize that one of my passions is actually auto racing. And I had the good opportunity a couple of years ago, thanks to a guy by the name of Russell Branham, who enabled me to drive around the Miami Homestead track for like a dozen laps. And I eclipsed 147.54 miles an hour. And Candy will tell you, when I said driving was one of the best things I've ever done in my life, she said, over me? So, well, you know, Candy, you know, you put me in a tough situation, but but at least she's a photographer, so she had to take pictures of that track. And then she understood the nature of it. Candy, get me out of trouble here, okay? Because I think I have a feeling I'm putting my foot in my mouth and set the story straight because I'm having so much fun today. Go on, Candy.
It wouldn't be the first time you put your foot in your mouth, and it probably won't be your last.
No, I know it. At least I can deal with it with passion anyway. I don't even care. But go ahead, Candy. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
I got a new tagline for Scott now when we get off the show.
Yeah, I have a feeling you do.
Not on the air. Not on the air.
You knock my hand off the floor. I'm going to start calling people by their last name instead of their first. But all right. Yeah. Well, this just shows you folks how much fun we have here on every show tonight inside the Pigskin. Proud of the turnout we had in the chat room, as well as the effort that all of my teammates here put in. So on behalf of Candy, Brad, Jeremy, Bo, and Coach, this is Scott Morgan, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. We will see you next Tuesday night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.